Namaskar, good afternoon. You are watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with the midday news. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines. Prime Minister to address first session of G20 summit in Argentina later today, building consensus on fair and sustainable development in agriculture, focus of the summit. Global economy, climate change topics of world interest at summit, says Prime Minister at yoga event earlier today. Prime Minister Modi meets Saudi Crown Prince and UN chief on sidelines of the G20 summit. First ever trilateral meeting between Japan, America and India, and second Russia, India, China trilateral also slated. Prime Minister to also meet Chinese President and German Chancellor. BJP President campaigns in Rajasthan, Rajnath Singh campaigns in Telangana. Congress and other parties also put their might into campaigning for states that vote in a week's time from now. Delhi court holds ex-Coal Secretary H.C. Gupta guilty of corruption and criminal conspiracy in a coal scam case. 4 others also held guilty, convicted persons taken into custody. Arguments on quantum of sentence to be heard on 3rd of December. And 2 matches slated at the Men's Hockey World Cup tournament in Odisha. Australia to face Ireland and England to take on China in Pool B match. First, all the news from Prime Minister Modi's Argentina visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the first session of the 13th G20 summit later today. The summit will focus on building consensus for fair and sustainable development in agriculture as put forth by the host of country that is chairing the event. Prime Minister Modi will make a lead intervention in the first session of the summit based on the theme Putting People First. Issues pertaining to risks posed by oil price volatility, flagship programs including Skill India, Mudra Yojana, Digital India and GST, among others, will be the focus. Among the Prime Minister's first engagements was the Yoga for Peace event. Addressing the event, the Prime Minister said yoga in India's gift to the world for health, wellness and peace. He said that yoga is bridging the vast distance between Argentina and India and connecting their people. The Prime Minister said that issues such as global economy, sustainable development, climate change and fugitive economic offenders will be discussed during the G20 summit, and these are in the interest of the entire world and not just India and Argentina.
अर्जेंटीना G20 समिट की मेजबानी कर रहा है तो यह हमारे लिए भी खुशी और गर्व की बात है। इस समिट में जिन मुद्दों पर बात होगी, जैसे ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, क्लाइमेट चेंज, आर्थिक भगोड़े अपराधी, उनसे सिर्फ भारत या अर्जेंटीना का ही नहीं, सारे विश्व का हित जुड़ा है। हमारे दोनों देशों के बीच आपसी सहयोग की अपार संभावनाएं हैं। व्यापार, फार्मा, ऑयल एंड गैस, आईटी और स्पेस, कई ऐसे क्षेत्र हैं जहां एक दूसरे की क्षमताओं का आपसी फायदा उठा सकते हैं। भारत और अर्जेंटीना का सहयोग जल, थल और नभ हर जगह एक नए साझा और सुनहरे भविष्य की सृष्टि कर सकता है। सर्वे सन्तु सुखिनः और वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्, इस भारतीय दर्शन की यह व्यवहारिक अभिव्यक्ति है। मुझे यह जानकर खुशी है कि इस वर्ष बुएनोस आयरेस में भी योग दिवस पर 10,000 लोगों ने हिस्सा लिया। योग का अर्थ ही है जोड़ना। यह हमें वेलनेस से जोड़ता है, हैप्पीनेस से जोड़ता है और आज भारत और अर्जेंटीना के बीच हजारों किलोमीटर की दूरी को योग बांट रहा है और हमारे दोनों देशों को, हमारे लोगों को जोड़ रहा है।
Among the Prime Minister's first bilateral meetings today was his meeting with the Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on the sidelines of the G20 summit. The two leaders discussed ways to further boost economic, cultural and energy ties. Following the meeting, the Prime Minister tweeted that he had a fruitful interaction on multiple aspects of the India-Saudi relationship.
Prime Minister arrived earlier today in Buenos Aires for the G20 summit, and after his arrival he has had two important bilateral meetings before the summit begins. The first was a meeting with His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. It was a very cordial meeting, it was a warm meeting. The Crown Prince spoke of India as an important partner for Saudi Arabia. And there was very specific discussion that took place between the two leaders on how Saudi Arabia can enhance its investment across a number of sectors in the next 2 to 3 years. The Crown Prince informed the Prime Minister that Saudi Arabia will be finalizing an initial investment into the National Infrastructure Fund. He also referred to future prospects for investment in the technology sector, in the agricultural sector and in the energy sector. And Prime Minister in particular stressed upon the importance of having stable and predictable energy prices, and some discussion took place between the two leaders on how Saudi Arabia can contribute and help in stabilizing energy prices, particularly for India. The Crown Prince was specially mindful of the contribution that Indians have made in the building of Saudi Arabia over the years, and he specifically expressed appreciation for this. Prime Minister, of course, expressed happiness at this and also thanked him for looking after the well-being of our citizens there. So at the end of the meeting, the two leaders have agreed that we will now set up a mechanism at leadership level which will go into the possibilities of concrete action in terms of investment, in terms of technology, in terms of manufacturing across various sectors, from energy to food security to infrastructure and to defense. And this mechanism will be worked out shortly, and we will expect that in the next 2 to 3 years there will be a significant scaling up in investment in Saudi investment in India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the sidelines of the G20 summit. The two leaders discussed India's role in addressing climate change globally, with specific reference to the COP24 meeting to be held in Poland. The UN Secretary General has reached out to the Prime Minister for a second time in 2 months, reflecting the respect in which the Prime Minister and his initiatives are held globally to take the lead on issues of global importance.
The Prime Minister had a short while ago was, of course, with the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Guterres. And the main subject of discussion was the forthcoming climate change meeting in Katowice in Poland, the so-called COP24. The Secretary General specifically acknowledged that India plays a very major role in climate change negotiations. He acknowledged that Prime Minister had taken a number of very concrete steps towards addressing climate change, and he mentioned the International Solar Alliance. He also mentioned that when he was in Delhi last month, he had seen for himself the manner in which other campaigns that the Prime Minister has led, including the Swachh Bharat campaign, was having an impact on the environment. And it was his sincere hope and expectation that in the forthcoming meeting next week in Poland, India will play a uniting role. It will play the role of a good Samaritan It will bring together the various groups of developed countries and developing countries, those which have money and those which need money, those which have technology and those which could use technology, to come up with certain solutions which would eventually feed into the climate change summit that the UN Secretary General is planning in 2019. So it was a good meeting, and Prime Minister assured the UN Secretary General that India plays a positive role in climate change negotiations, that it is part of Indian culture and civilization to preserve the environment, and that he could rest assured that India would play its due and responsible role at the COP24 in Katowice.
And on the sidelines of the two-day 13th G20 summit, Prime Minister Modi will hold a trilateral meeting with US President Donald Trump and Japanese Premier Shinzo Abe. He will also participate in the second Russia, India, China or RIC trilateral, which is taking place after an interval of 12 years. According to the sources, the timing of the meeting directly relates to a period of major global developments. It is indicative of India's growing diplomatic and economic profile in the world. Sources also say it is a recognition of several facts. Among them are that India is a global engine of economic growth and will be in the top 5 economies of the world. Prime Minister Modi will also meet Chinese President Xi Jinping and German Chancellor Angela Merkel on the sidelines of the event. US President Donald Trump has said that US is very close to a trade deal with China. Trump's remarks came ahead of his meeting with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Argentina on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Trade and tariffs have been the topic of increasing tension between the US and China. The Trump administration has imposed tariffs on more than $250 billion worth of Chinese imports. Another $200 billion has been hit with a 10% tariff, with plans to increase that to 25% on 1st of January. Trump has also repeatedly threatened to impose tariffs on all remaining imports from China, accusing it of unfair trade practices and stealing of intellectual properties. And with that, time for a very short break. Stay with us.
Today we'll take a closer look at the Allied and Healthcare Professions Bill 2018.
Which is first a set of experts come together and we have to all agree on what is an acceptable standard in terms of education, in terms of practice, in terms of education institutions that are running these courses. And most importantly, what are the skills and competencies that the professionals come out with at the end of the course. So those are some of the main criteria that are standardized.
Quality of paramedical and allied health workers is ensured. Doctors would be able to place a lot of reliance on them. Today the quality is uncertain and the curriculum is also uncertain. The minimum standards are not being ensured in colleges where they are being taught. So the quality may be suspect in some cases. As a result, doctors are not able to repose faith in them.
Said now that if there would be any second green revolution, that would be root based. We have identified key genes which regulate the root hair length. So we are trying to improve increasing root hair length in rice and other crops. So you will save environment, you will help farmer, and you can extend agriculture in those soil where phosphate is not present in abundant.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Jitendra Giri, scientist at National Institute of Plant Genome Research, New Delhi. Saturday 4 p.m, Sunday 12 noon, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. a salute to diversity, promoting public discourse, events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back, and now let's take a look at all the news from the election-bound states of Rajasthan and Telangana. Continuing with the campaigning in the poll-bound Rajasthan, BJP President Amit Shah is addressing a rally in Nagaur. He targeted Rahul Gandhi and said that the Congress is dreaming of forming a government in Rajasthan. He expressed confidence of coming back to power in the state. He is also scheduled to address public meetings and road shows in Sujangarh and Sri Ganganagar.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी और कांग्रेस के बीच में राजस्थान की जनता ने एक निर्णय करना है और वो निर्णय आपको 7 तारीख को करना है और 7 तारीख को आपका जो फैसला होगा इसके आधार पर अगले 5 साल तक महान राजस्थान के अंदर इस पार्टी की सरकार होगी, इस व्यक्ति की सरकार होगी। एक और मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में, वसुंधरा राजे के नेतृत्व में देशभक्तों की टोली जैसी भारतीय जनता पार्टी। और दूसरी ओर ना नेता है, ना नीति है, ना सिद्धांत है, राहुल बाबा की टीम खड़ी है। राहुल बाबा।
And Congress leader Ashok Gehlot campaigned in Rajsamand in Rajasthan. He said that a wrong message is being spread against the Congress to the effect that the party has not done anything for the country. He said that the Congress believes in goodwill for all sections of the society.
ये अज्ञानी लोग नहीं ऐसे कोई जानबूझ के बोलते हैं लोगों को गुमराह करने के लिए, सोशल मीडिया को दुरुपयोग करने के लिए, नई पीढ़ी को गुमराह करने के लिए तो बना दिए लोगों ने। राहुल गांधी कहते हैं हमारी कोई दुश्मनी किसी से नहीं है, ये विचारधारा की लड़ाई हमारी है। हमारी विचारधारा दूसरी है जो गांधी जी की दी हुई है। हमारी नीति कार्यक्रम देश हित में है, गरीब गांव किसान हित में है, दलित हित में है।
And addressing a rally in Telangana's Asifabad, Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that the BJP is working only for the development of the people for the last 4.5 years. Targeting the Congress, Singh said that growth was half and inflation was double during their rule, which the BJP has curtailed.
कांग्रेस की सरकार थी तो इस देश में जो विकास दर था वह महंगाई का जस्ट हाफ हुआ करता था, लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी की गवर्नमेंट बनने के बाद यह विकास दर, ग्रोथ रेट, वह इन्फ्लेशन यानी महंगाई का जस्ट डबल हो गया है। यह मामला पूरी तरह से उलट गया है।
And Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge is also in Hyderabad speaking at an event. Kharge accused BJP of misusing central agencies like the CBI in the state where they are not in power.
लगाओ ईडी, लगाओ आईटी, लगाओ सीबीआई, लगाओ सीवीसी, ये उनका है। इस देश में हमको डेमोक्रेसी को कायम रखना है, संविधान को बचाना है।
And with that, time for another short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
Rajya Sabha TV's YouTube channel has just crossed a new exciting milestone. It now has over 1 million subscribers. That's more than 10 lakh people who like and want to watch RSTV. Over 15 crore people have watched our videos. Our online viewers are also engaging with us more actively on YouTube. More and more people like, share and comment on our videos. We thank you, our growing tribe of RSTV viewers. We will strive every day to bring you more exciting and engaging content. So stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.
The prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling, one of the first masters of short stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English-language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Thanks for being with us. A Delhi court on Friday held ex-coal secretary H.C. Gupta guilty of corruption and criminal conspiracy in a coal scam case relating to allotment of coal blocks in West Bengal. The case pertains to alleged irregularities in allocation of North and South coal blocks in West Bengal to a private firm, Vikas Metals and Power Limited. Vikas Metals and Power Limited, former coal joint secretary K.S. Krofa and former director in the Coal Ministry, K.C. Samria, are also found guilty in the case. After pronouncement of the decision, all the 5 convicted persons were taken into custody by the court. It also fixed December 3rd for hearing arguments on the quantum of punishment. The Maharashtra Assembly unanimously passed a bill on Thursday proposing 16% reservation for Marathas under the socially and educationally backward category. The bill provides for reservation of seats in educational institutions and positions in public services to people from the Maratha community. The bill was tabled by Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, who thanked the opposition members for their help in the passage of the bill unanimously. Fadnavis also tabled the recommendations of the State Backward Class Commission's report on social, educational and financial status of the Maratha community. The report said nearly 37.28% Marathas in Maharashtra are living below the poverty line, while 93% families from the community have annual income of less than 1 lakh rupees. The report said that Marathas are entitled to reservation benefits and advantages enshrined in Article 15(4) and 16(4) of the Constitution.
राज्य सरकार ने आज कानून बनाकर मराठा समाज को आरक्षण का लाभ दिया है। बैकवर्ड क्लास कमीशन ने एक रिपोर्ट दी थी और उस रिपोर्ट में इस प्रकार का आरक्षण देने की अनुशंसा की थी और मागास वर्ग आयोग के बैकवर्ड क्लास कमीशन के उस रिपोर्ट के आधार पर आज ये निर्णय यहाँ पर लिया गया है। और ये निर्णय लेते समय जो ओबीसी का आरक्षण है उसको किसी भी प्रकार से कम न करते हुए उसके बाहर ये आरक्षण दिया गया है।
Now the latest from the national capital, where protesting farmers from across India have reached the Parliament street to press for their demands, including debt relief and remunerative prices for their produce. They are also demanding a joint session of the Parliament to discuss the agrarian crisis in India. Thousands of farmers from across the country assembled in Delhi's Ramlila Maidan on Thursday. They are part of the All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee, an umbrella body of 207 organizations of farmers and agricultural workers. Security arrangements are tight in the capital, with over 3,500 police personnel deployed from the Ramlila Maidan to Parliament. The Health Ministry has approved compensation to patients who receive faulty hip implants manufactured by Johnson & Johnson. Indian patients suffering due to faulty hip implants sold by healthcare giant Johnson & Johnson will get as much as a 1.2 crore rupees each and an additional 10 lakh rupees for non-pecuniary losses. The compensation will be determined in terms of disability by the faulty hip implants in relation to their age. For example, in case of 50% disability for a 20-year-old, the quantum of compensation will be over 1.2 crore rupees. It is also based on the cost of living in the future, disturbance of routine and mental agony. The compensation will be paid in a time-bound manner through bank accounts of affected persons by Johnson & Johnson. And sports news now. On the day 2 of the 14th edition of Men's Hockey World Cup on Thursday, New Zealand beat France, while in another Pool A match, Argentina defeated Spain. In the first Pool A game, Olympic gold medalist Argentina defeated Spain 4-3, while in the second game, New Zealand defeated France 2-1. Kane Russell and Stephen Jennings scored a goal each for New Zealand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the Argentinian team for their win and extended his best wishes for the coming matches. In today's Pool B matches, Australia will face Ireland in the first game, while England will face China in the second Pool B match. Host India will next face Belgium on Sunday. Indian opener Prithvi Shaw has been ruled out of the first test against Australia. Shaw suffered an ankle injury during the ongoing tour game against Cricket Australia 11 in Sydney. According to the BCCI, Shaw will undergo an intensive rehabilitation program to hasten the recovery. KL Rahul and Murli Vijay will be India's openers in the first test. However, BCCI did not name any replacement for Shaw. And that's all we have for you in this edition. Thank you for watching.